Hello to our friends overseas. We're going to be working on assembling the Unlimited Phoenix V2 hand. So let's just going to jump right into it. I'm going to skip the first step, the fun tedious step of removing all the support and brim material. I'm going to leave that up to you guys because, it's just fun and I don't really need permission in the video. Okay, so just for the record, so you know that when you do remove support material, the palm should look like this. So you're going to have these 4 channels right here should be cleared, along with the thumb channel right here. There's gonna be a little bit of support material right here that needs to be cleared out, and there's gonna be like it's called a brim. It kind of looks like there's a extension around the piece that needs to be cleared off, and it's gonna be apparent on some of the pieces. So the fingers, and when the fingers cleared off, there should be a easy channel right here for the rubber band to have access to, and it's gonna be apparent in all of them. And for these channels at the bottom right here should be cleared. Oh, here's an example of one. So there's a bottom channel in which the tension wire later step, I'll clarify that again later step, but this channel should be cleared away. So as you can see now it's got room for the line to fit through. Okay, so now to assembly. So we're going to start with the finger linkages, assembling them to the finger phalanxes. We're going to have 4 pins. They're the smallest. They're going to be the smallest pins, a little bit over a centimeter long. Actually, I think it's a little bit under. And these 4 are going to connect the finger tips, the finger phalanx. So, take the finger connector, put it through the rectangular window, and just push through, and now it's connected. Okay, cool. And then just do this for us, and that's the thumb. And let's do this for the rest of them. Okay, so now that I've assembled those 4, there's now going to be a thumb. Thumb's a little bit weirder because it has the pin. There's 2 pins for it. They don't match up with any other set on the pin palette. So there's going to be there are 2 pins. The shorter one, the longer one. Shorter one is when we're going to be using this step. It's going to be, and it's the same step. Connecting that through here. Okay, cool. And so a good way to test to see if you cleared off the material for the pins is that okay, that's not a good test. Okay, it should be a very loose connection. It's very nice and even. So, okay, yeah, that's good. Now we're gonna move on to some connection between the palms. So let's start with the fingers right here. So you're gonna notice there are 2 different lengths for the fingers. There's going to be there's going to be ones with the shorter fingertips, and there's going to be one with the longer fingertips. So if you look right here, you can see the difference in length. Okay, so just want you guys to remember this pattern: short, long, long, short. That's going to be the pattern we're going to be using for the finger setup right here. So just to clarify, so you're going to have the shorter piece for the index. You're going to take the longer pin, as seen right here. It's about 2.5 centimeters or 1 American inch long, and we're going to stick the pin through both the index and middle finger. Okay, so after that you're going to use the longer finger onto the ring placement, and that is the long finger. Okay, so that is, yep. Okay, so for the next 2 joints, you're going to be using these 2 pins. There are 2 sets of 2 on the pin palette. There is the thicker ones, which are used for the wrist connection, which I'll explain later, and there are thinner ones, which are used for these connections. So they're a little bit longer than the connection ones here. They're about 1.5 centimeters. So those are just going to go in right here. Okay, and we're good. Thumb, we're going to use the longer piece here. I've indicated it's the next piece for the thumb. And connection to be made through the rectangular hole. And come on. Yay, now on step 2. Okay, so the next step is going to be thermoforming. This is where we're going to be molding the plastic, the wrist gauntlet right here, around this jig. So for this, you can either use the boiling water method or you can use the heat gun. Heat gun is basically just a tool that acts like a blow dryer except on steroids. And for a tip for when you're using the heat gun, highly recommend using gloves. This thing can hurt quite a bit if you don't use directly expose it to your skin. So I'm just going to show another tip when you're doing this. You want to make sure that when you're heating this thing up, you want to heat up well. It can crack if it's not heated up enough, and when it is heated up, you're going to act quickly. So let's just get started with that. Heat it evenly across the surface right here so that every part gets an even amount of heat. And every part is ready to be molded. So I was able to order this heat gun on Amazon, and so okay, look, there we are. It fits nicely around. Ow. Of course, I was not smart enough to get gloves for both hands, so something I recommend too. Just getting gloves for both hands. It seems obvious, but evidently I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so and then I would definitely clamp it down on here so it nicely forms around, and then there's been two loops that they can use. Okay, come on. And so after this cools, I would definitely I usually thermoform it like at least twice, or just get it nice and even. So as you can see here, it's not entirely even. It probably should be thermoformed again. So I'll work on that. Okay, that's cool. I'm gonna do that again. Okay, is that better? Okay, yeah, there we go. I'm gonna let that cool, and after that we'll get right to the wrist assembly. Okay, so now that we have the thermoformed wrist gauntlet, we're gonna now connect this to the palm. So what you're gonna need to do, it should fit nicely inside right here. That's so you know you did a successful thermoforming. You're gonna take the two pins right here. They're may definitely be the thickest on the thing. They're about, I'd say probably about half centimeter thick and about eyeballing it about a little over a centimeter long. Okay, so you're gonna have so there are two pieces for each side. There's gonna be this will fit nicely through the rectangular hole which is present in the wrist gauntlet, and then okay, come on, there we go. And it's gonna go through right here. Then you're gonna take the washer and then put that through. So and then there's gonna be this nice connection. Same thing on the other side. Come on. Okay, so now that we have this assembled, it looks kind of somewhat like a hand. And then we'll be going on to the tensioning point. Hey guys, so now that we've assembled the 3D printing parts, we're going to now work on to the tensioning bit. So for this, you're going to need a screwdriver. You're going to need 3 screws, which for the UK group, you're going to have 3 screws in your little hand kit bag, and you're going to need the tensioning wire. So this tensioning wire is actually 80-pound braided fishing line, so you can find that on Amazon or at a bait and tackle store if you have one. No one nearby, so I went with Amazon. Okay, so first thing first, you're going to need to do is you're going to want to put in the screws kind of loosely. Let me just first get this out. I made the mistake of putting in the putting in the tension block, so don't make my mistake. Let me first get this tension block out and so. Depending on your hand size, so we're using the default 100% size, no size changes at all. You may want to, so if you're using something bigger for an actual client, you're going to want to be using larger screws, and the Enable hand kit online does come with a varying set for both a hand and an arm. So I'm going to leave it up to your guys' discretion on what to use. So yeah, part of the tensioning process is that you're going to need to make sure this gets in place. So
this should start catching. Yep, there, starting to work. And so there's one. Let's get number 2 and 3 out of the way.
So we're going to repeat this process for both the middle and the end, and then we'll get, actually, you know what, I have a better idea. That's, considering I don't want to hold all this in place, we're going to start tying with number 1. So finger number 1, or I'm going to do right here, is going to be starting off with the pinky and ring finger. So I'm going to start off. So how you start off a tensioning wire is I wouldn't cut out lengths of wire just yet. I mean, when you get more experience, you should be able to eyeball how much rope you're going to be needing. But for us new people, I would definitely recommend starting off with the big rope. So you want a nice clean edge. So like you see, this one's going to be a little bit frayed right here, as you can see. So you definitely want a clean edge. Makes it much easier to string stuff. And so just going to snip that off and make a clean edge. Okay. Clean edge, yay. So we're going to start off with you're going to start actually at the pinky, or the first finger you're going to tie off with. So there's a little bridge across the bottom of the finger where you're going to tie off the wire. And so I'm going to use my Boy Scout skills and tie a 2/2 hitch. However, you just need a knot that's not going to slip under pressure, or under tension. So 2/2 hitch is going to be going under, over, through a loop you're going to make through. Let me see if I can get this closer to the camera. So yeah, you make the loop right here, and you go over, then under, over, and then through the loop. Yeah, come on. And then, okay. And then over, under, and up through the loop, and create another loop on the outside of the knot you just made, the little over and under you just went. And then, okay, come on. It's a little bit difficult with the smaller rope, so I would recommend maybe a pair of tweezers to help you out if you have larger hands. That knot's in, that's not going anywhere. Now we're gonna weave this through the pan. So pretty simple here, grab it through the, so we're gonna first start with weaving it through the channel. Oh wait, that's a bad edge, let me turn that off. We're gonna weave this through the bottom channel of the finger. So you see this, if you can see this channel on the index right here, gonna weave that through. After you weave that under there, just pull taut. Then, okay, so for after you weave it through the little bridge, you're gonna go out through the bottom of the hand, and it's gonna come out right here on the top. So it's gonna come out right at the beginning of the enclosed channel for the palm. And then after that, we're gonna weave that through the channel for the palm. It should come out if everything goes correctly. There we are. Yay. So I took off the gauntlet for just the, getting some more leverage to remove the other tension blocks. However, I would not recommend doing that when you're starting to tension. So let me just get this connected back again. Okay, so after you get it out through here, you're going to connect to the tension block. And so, tip when you're starting this off, you don't want your hand to be flat like this. You want to have an angle, not a steep angle, but just a nice. I'd say about 30 degrees between the bottom of the palm, the bottom of the palm and the tension line right here. So, like that. Actually, it's a little bit steep. Probably closer to 15 degrees. Actually, that's better. Okay. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this and loop. Oh, you're gonna loop it through the tension block. Thread the needle, kind of thing, and then we're gonna go back around and then through towards the adjacent finger. So we're now going to reverse our directions through the through now the index finger, because the cool thing about the tension wire, it's now connecting to two fingers at the same time. That way you can tension two fingers at once, pretty convenient. So now I'm just going to be doing the reverse of what I just showed you on the index. So when you're tying these off, you want to make sure the line is fairly taut, but not so tight that's gonna, it's gonna mess up your tension, because you want the point of the tension to even out the closing process of the fingers. So for now, we'll just focus on getting this tied. So weaving it through the channel. So I'm gonna finish up with that knot I just made. Again, it doesn't have to be the two half hitches. It's something I recommend because it's kind of is the older and reliable knot in my opinion. Okay guys, so last change in location here. So after you have tensioned both these fingers, and this is the 2-pin method here. So we're gonna do the thumb, which is just slightly unique from the rest of them. So instead of weaving it through like the first two, you're just gonna simply tie it here. So let me just. You're just gonna tie it through on this it's gonna start off the same. You're gonna tie it off on the cross bridge right here, and then simply just weave it through. So there's a little hole right here that is actually not meant for what this job. It's designed to help route it through. I usually like to start from this side right here. Start from the bottom right here, going up, because it weaves better. However, I will not deny this one's gonna be a little bit funky because this one has like there's a lot of channels, inner channels that are, you have to route it through the palm. It's a little bit more difficult it's a little bit more difficult per finger than the rest of them, but overall it's not too bad. So after you weave it through the finger, same as the rest of them. So what I'd recommend doing right here, there's a little hole right in the channel where the palm where it connects to the palm. And so I would actually push this pin out and remove the palm just for a second, and then try routing the string through here. And then here's the use of this hole. You can take a pin right here and kind of push it through, guide it through. So after this comes up through here, finally, then you can put the thumb back on. I would take it off just simply to get it through that hole of the channel. Come on, there we go. So then just weave it through the enclosed palm channels like the rest of the fingers right here. So let me do that right now. Come on, there we go. Okay, so pull that a little bit tight, and again, like the rest of them, make sure the palm is at the proper resting point. So the thumb's fully extended out. So now the finger should be at the resting point. And so instead of looping it back through and tying it to the end of the palm, since we obviously only have 4 fingers and a thumb, so we can try to guide that through. It's gonna be a little difficult with all 3 at the same time, but it is possible. There we are. Okay. So then you just tie it off right here. Again, it's personal preference which knot you want to use for this portion. However,
let's take off.
I'm just going to tie it off right here, and then you'll be done with the tensioning bit. So I'm going to stop the video right there and just finish this knot. Okay, so now that we have our tensioning wires done, we're just going to quickly add on the rubber bands. So in your kit, you're going to see 5 dental rubber bands. Don't worry, they're unused, obviously. And so we're going to attach each rubber band onto the phalanxes. And I mentioned 5 earlier. I meant to say 10. We're going to have 10. So first, let's just get that started. So what you're going to do is you're going to have there's a nice little channel right here between. You're just going to loop it around. So now it now has some sort of springing or elastic force acting on it, and have it return to the rest position. The reason why I did this, why I did the elastic after the tensioning, I find that it helps a little bit with the. I find that just helps that there's less in the way when you're tensioning it. That wire gets very, when you have a lot of pieces involved, things get a little bit messy, and there's a lot of interfering parts. However, it's personal preference whether or not you want to do the rubber bands first or the tensioning wire. End result is ultimately the same. Come on. If you notice that the rubber band's not going in clearly enough, so I think it's happening a little bit right here, it probably means that you need to clear it out some more, just make some more room for it. And that's because the way they were printed, the support material is going to block the channels. So if I can get this one out. Okay, so now we're actually starting to see where this is happening. So we're seeing that the fingers are not moving entirely correct. So this one's moving a little bit slower than this one. So this is where the tensioning steps are going to come in. Okay, so for the tensioning steps, we're not going to need a screwdriver, and we're going to be using the tensioning bolts back here. So many of the hands, especially when you're tying knots, it's not going to be 100% accurate, and the finger's not going to move in 100% fluid motion. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to either A, tighten, or B, loosen, depending on what your needs are. So if you have your cords planned out, if you have your tension wires planned out accordingly, then you should know which thing you need to pull. And so go in little increments at a time. At this level, at this size, a tiny rotation could mean all the difference. So that's better. Maybe a little bit more. And so this one is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to need to do trial and error until it works. And if you get to a point where it's completely tightened and the wire is still too loose and you might have to retie it. This is for the fine tuning and making sure the finger gets very close. So here we have it, and it's close. And so this will actually be the completed hand before we add the foam on. And so next we're going to go over the wires. So lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to use this. We're going to need to thermoform this. So since this is a hand, what will likely happen is what remains of the child's palm will go inside it, or the person's, not I'm just saying child's, but will go inside the spot. And this is obviously too thin right now to fit any person's hand. So what you're going to need to do is actually you're going to need to thermoform this part out. So, and always when you're using heat gun, wear gloves. So I'm going to first switch hands to the gloved hand. And then, so you're going to do it very closely and in a very low heat. And keep it away from the wires. The wires expand upon heat and eventually break. So use a low heat on it and just keep it kind of close. It doesn't take long to heat up. So it's already heated up right there. And you just can use the thing right here and start bringing it out a little bit. And you can notice that it's, to hold it for a few seconds just to keep it working. So it doesn't take long. And you just need to hold that constant pressure because doesn't take long. You might have to do this a few times until it starts. So because you're having to apply different areas, it means you're having to, again, avoid the wires.
One more. All right.
So yeah, after it cools, you're good to go on the heating portion of it. And now you're able to add the foam. Okay, so for this last step, we'll be attaching the foam pieces to the gauntlet. For this step, I'd recommend that you actually detach the wrist gauntlet from the palm, as I've already done right here. And so I have pre-cut the pieces for the foam. For the UK group, you will be receiving. You should receive multiple sheets of foam. I can't provide really any steps to how you should cut out the foam. Only where it should be applied. So I would just recommend eyeballing it and then just slowly withering it away. It's better in this case to be too much than too little. But so what we're going to do is we're going to be attaching it on 3 places. So we're going to be attaching it on the wrist gauntlet here, and both the top and bottom of the palm, of the inside of the palm. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So this is a single-sided sticky foam. So just remove the adhesive cover and just stick it on there. There's really nothing more I can tell you besides that. If you find that pieces are too long, I would recommend getting an X-Acto knife to cut it down. Okay, so the last step we're going to be doing before we say that this hand is complete is we're going to be attaching the rubber gel fingertips that go on the edge, well, on the fingertips. So these pieces help the device grip better when trying to grab certain devices. So just for an example, just take this pocket knife right here. It is able to pick it up because it's a lighter, but when you try to grab a heavier object, per se a water bottle, it's going to have more trouble because it can't establish a friction surface. So the fingertip attachment part is pretty self-explanatory. You just simply slip it on over. These pieces are going to be a little bit loose because it's a tiny hand. There are multiple sizes that you're able to buy online. Luckily these things stretch though, so I mean I'm able to put these over a full adult sized hand relatively easy. So I mean it would be reliable to go with a small size. So you may notice it's not going to attach very well. It's just going to be a little, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a little bit loose just because of how small the hand is. Thing is, you're not going to be making a hand. You're not like going to be making a hand this small to begin with. So take this more as a demonstration, really. And so now that we have this made, we have the fingertips. It's able to grip this much better. No, I mean it's a little bit different because I'm not operating from a. So yeah, now we can see the actual difference between, well, You actually can see the difference in grip.